The evening was quiet, almost unnaturally so, as if the house itself were holding its breath. I could feel it the moment I stepped in, the weight of anticipation pressing down, thickening the air around me. If you've ever walked into a room knowing something was about to change everything, you know the feeling I mean. And tonight, it would. Mark was sitting on the leather couch, glass of wine resting in his hand, the dim light reflecting off the liquid like liquid amber. His posture was relaxed, his eyes distant, but I could sense him tuning into the energy in the room without even realizing it. I walked slowly, deliberately, letting the tension build with each step. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. I simply told him to wait. That one phrase, soft as it was, carried more weight than 1,000 explanations. I paused at the hallway door, fingers lightly brushing the handle. And then, just as I had planned, the door opened. Rachel, my sister, stepped inside. She didn't rush. She didn't hesitate. It was as if she had always been meant to be here at that exact moment, like the universe had choreographed her arrival down to the second. Her hair was windswept from the evening air, her coat buttoned neatly, her presence effortless, calm, and entirely composed. Seeing her again pulled something strange in my chest, a memory of shared secrets, laughter, and the unspoken connection only sisters can understand. Mark didn't turn. He didn't need to. The moment itself was enough to capture him, though he didn't realize it yet. He held his glass, lips parting slightly as he drew a slow breath, unaware that the quiet tension in the room was about to shift into something electric. I moved back to the couch, settling beside him. My hand hovered near his on the cushion, close enough to brush, but not touching. The air between us vibrated with unspoken words, a silent conversation of glances and gentle movements. Rachel moved gracefully, her fingers brushing the arm of the couch as she passed behind him. He remained still, but the shift in his posture betrayed him. Every inch of him was aware of her presence. She stopped beside me, leaning in so that her cheek nearly touched mine, not a kiss, just a silent question, a challenge, a gentle spark of connection. I didn't answer with words. My eyes said everything, mirrored in hers. Then she turned toward Mark. Slowly. Deliberately. Her gaze held his, unwavering, steady, calm. It wasn't forceful, not demanding, just present, magnetic in its certainty. He swallowed, a shallow, trembling sound that filled the quiet. I placed my hand on his knee, light, comforting, grounding him without needing to speak. Just relax, I whispered, and he did, as much as he could. Rachel knelt gracefully on the floor, not to get closer physically, but to anchor the moment, to draw him into the energy swirling between the three of us. Her hand reached out and gently covered his, fingers closing around his in a gesture that was both tender and commanding. I guided his other hand to rest lightly on my lap. He didn't resist. He didn't need to. He was caught between us, caught in a delicate balance of curiosity, tension, and trust. Time seemed to stretch, slow down. Rachel adjusted her sleeves, brushed a stray lock of hair behind her ear, each movement deliberate and composed. She wasn't performing, she was commanding presence. She leaned forward, forehead resting lightly against mine, a silent acknowledgement of connection, of understanding, of an unspoken promise. I met her halfway, my hand brushing her neck, not to stop her, but to hold the moment, to hold her in that fragile, suspended space. Mark exhaled, a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His eyes shifted between us, wide, searching, trying to follow the rhythm of what had already taken hold in the room. Rachel guided his hand gently to her side, just the slightest pressure, a signal, not a demand. His gaze met mine, full of questions, uncertainty, and trust. I nodded, silently telling him to follow her lead. The energy in the room thickened, but it was not suffocating. It was alive, vibrant, electric. I moved closer, my arm brushing his back, surrounding him without enclosing him, letting him feel the presence of both of us, the weight of connection without a single word. Rachel leaned toward him again, forehead to forehead, a whisper of a touch that spoke volumes. He remained still, absorbing everything, the warmth of presence, the careful choreography of attention, and the intensity of quiet desire that had nothing to do with words. He finally moved, ever so slightly, anchoring himself in her hand while keeping his other hand with me. It was a delicate balance, a moment suspended between curiosity, trust, and the electric thrill of something new yet familiar. Rachel's eyes never left his, calm, commanding, patient. She leaned back, just enough to give him space to breathe, to process, to recognize the depth of the unspoken bond forming in that room. And still, we didn't speak. Words were unnecessary here. The silence carried everything, every heartbeat, every flicker of tension, every shared glance and subtle movement. Mark's breathing deepened slowly, each inhale a signal of awareness, of participation, of being present in a moment that would linger long after it ended. Would you have stayed quiet in a moment like that? Or would you have tried to break it with words? Sometimes, the most powerful connections are those that don't need explanation, where the energy in a room is enough to speak for itself. Tonight, we didn't just exist in the same room. We were aware of each other, fully, deeply, suspended in a moment that was both tense and comforting, thrilling and grounding. And as the evening stretched on, I realized something profound. Connection, in its truest form, doesn't need a script. It doesn't need words. It only needs presence, trust, and the courage to let the moment take over. Mark remained still, yet transformed, caught between curiosity and awe, guided gently by the energy of two people who understood him better than he understood himself. And as Rachel and I exchanged a brief glance, a silent acknowledgement of the shared secret between sisters, I knew the night had changed everything. Not because of words, not because of actions, but because of presence, connection, and the quiet, unspoken understanding that sometimes, love and trust can be felt more than spoken. The air finally relaxed, softening around us. Breaths slowed. Hands separated. Yet the memory of that tension, that perfect alignment of trust, curiosity, and presence, lingered. And in that silence, Mark understood more than any words could ever convey.